to Lisa Horton Crafts. My name is Mary Kelly and today I'm going to show you how to use the MDF wreaths from Lisa to decorate your home for Christmas. The first of the three wreaths that I'm going to show you today are the Snowflake Kisses wreath. So this is it. It uses the large snowflake die and some of the Christmas romance papers. Let me take you through what you'll need to make this wreath. So we'll be using the festive double layered sentiment stamps and outline dies, and in particular I'm going to use the Snowflake Kisses one. So I've already done this. I've stamped it in a quick dry smoked emerald green, and I've actually given it a little coating of clear gloss and heat embossed that to give it more of a twinkly look. I then used the dies from the die pack here and I've cut that out, and I've used the layering behind it to cut out a layer to support that wording from acetate, which I had in my stash. The second product we've used is the Snowflakes, and we've used two dies from this pack. We've used one of the large snowflakes, this one, and we've had to cut it out twice in glitter cards. And then we've also used the layer that goes with that, this one, so you can see they are a match. And we've cut that out in acetate, and that's to support the glitter card and to give the floating snowflake effect that we have in our wreath. As I've already mentioned, we're using the Christmas romance papers from Lisa, along with the beautiful epoxy resin and domes that come with that. And you'll have spotted we're using the very popular Glitter Euphoria card from Lisa. And in the sample that I showed you, we kind of had the green tones, but in the one we're making today, we're going slightly more gold in tone. So you can make lots of different versions of the wreath. Let's make a start. So the first thing you'll need to do is choose the size of wreath that you want to use. I'm using the second size up, and what I've done is I've laid this down onto my paper, my Christmas Euphoria paper of choice, and I've drawn around it in the inside and the outside, and then used my scissors to cut that out, and I've been left with a circle of paper. Now, because we're turning it over and we're going to be gluing it on, it may not be quite perfect to the edge, but I'm going to show you how we deal with that now in a minute. So the first thing to do is to glue this down, and I'm going to use quite a strong glue to make sure we get a good fix here. So I've now attached my paper to my circle, and you'll see that it's not quite perfect. You can see there the edge of the paper is jutting out past the MDF wreath. Well, we're going to tidy that up in a minute. We need to make sure that it's completely dry before we can do that. So make sure you press it down very firmly, and then we're going to leave that for a few minutes to make sure that it has glued well. So we'll take a look at our glitter snowflakes next, and here are my two glitter snowflakes and my piece of acetate. And what I want to do is to give the floating effect, as if the snowflake is floating in the wreath itself. Now, because we're going to be attaching to acetate, the use of red liner tape would be recommended. So we're going to be using our red liner tape to attach our snowflake to the one side of our acetate, and then we'll turn over and do the same on the other side, and that way you are not actually going to see any of the red liner tape or any of the glue that you've chosen to use. If you don't have red liner tape, glue dots would be really good, but you're going to need something that has a very strong adhesion to make sure that the glitter card stays attached to the acetate itself. So now we have our glitter card attached to our acetate. It's quite a sturdy structure, which will be good. And I've also attached, using some red liner tape, the snowflake sentiment to the acetate that I mentioned before, and I put a little bit of foam pad, a strip, down the back of that as well. So let's take a look at our wreath, which is hopefully well adhered at this point. And I mentioned that we have some paper jutting out here at the edge, which is a little untidy. And so the best course of action I find is to use an emery board. Now you can buy specific crafty tools for this, but I find a pack of emery boards that are inexpensive work just as well. And so what you need to do is, holding your wreath firmly, you should drag your nail file along the edge of your wreath. And what that will do is it will just rub off any paper that might be jutting over the edge. And you'll get a really nice clean look. I find a downward motion works best, as well as pushing to the side. So I'm following the line of the wreath itself, but also pulling downwards. And you can see there that it's finishing a lovely clean finish along the edge of my wood. Now, sometimes that can make a very white line as you see the core of the paper you've attached. So my suggestion would be to use a little bit of ink to soften that look. And I'm just going to use a pink tone here. You can use whatever ink or colour you want to use. And what I would do then is I would gently ink along that side. So you're losing the whiteness and it softens up the look of your wreath. So you need to repeat the filing the whole way around, also in the inside, and then also ink that all to give yourself a wreath that's ready to assemble. So now your wreath is ready. You've filed it back, you've inked the edges, and you have a lovely finish to your wreath itself. I would suggest then you put a little bit of red liner tape on the back at whatever you choose the top to be, and then you'll need a piece of ribbon. I've used a piece of ribbon that's about 10.5 inches or 27 centimetres long. For mine, it might depend on where you're hanging it, how long your piece of ribbon would actually be. And so then you just need to peel back your red liner tape and affix your ribbon to that to give yourself a hanging mechanism. Okay. And I've shown you before in previous videos how I like to fix it. I like to twist my ribbon like this, attach it on one side, attach it on the other side. You can trim off any little bits that might be fraying there at the end of your ribbon to give it a nice and neat appearance. And then that is your hanger, nice and secure. Let's add the other components in to finish our project off. Here is our acetate glitter snowflake, and what I've done is I've added a little glue dot to the point of each of these longer snowflake prongs, and they will fit perfectly into my wreath. So I'm just going to press down. If you don't have glue dots, a little bit of red liner tape would also work effectively there. So there we have it secured to our wreath. And then we just need to add our sentiment. So I've chosen the Snowflake Kisses because it seems most appropriate here. And finally, just to finish off my project, I'm going to bring in some of my domes from my Christmas romance papers. And I'm going to add one here to the top of my kisses. So I think we'll have a little small dome for that one. I'm using a little bit of tacky glue there, it'll dry clear. And I'm doing the same here with my glitter cards. You could use some red liner tape there as well if you prefer. So there is my center of my snowflake. There we go. That will again dry clear. And there we have wreath number 1, our Snowflake Kisses.